If doctors are getting paid well, then why do they resort to such practices?
Such kind of things are happening, which is, I am sorry to say, not. I almost told his name, I don't want to. There was a time when the manhandling of doctors was becoming too much, and then the doctors went on strike. Then the Supreme Court said, if you're afraid, don't come to the job.
One myth about surgeons you'd like to debunk?
That we are God.
Hello everyone, I'm Muskan, and today I have with me Dr. Shirish Narsapur, who is a surgeon by profession, but he also surprisingly happens to have a way with words. So the result is this amazing book called The Inner Compass. So Dr. Shirish, I understand that you are an orthopedic surgeon, is that right?
Yeah, I am an orthopedic surgeon with a special interest in joint replacements and arthroscopy, basically sports medicine. I do keyhole reconstructions of the ligaments of knee joint, ankle, as well as shoulder.
Interesting. So in a nutshell, it means you repair broken bones?
Yeah.
Broken hearts also by any chance? Asking for a friend.
I would want to believe so, but I don't know.
Oh damn. So take us through your background, Dr. Shirish. Where do you hail from? And how did you end up in the surgery in the first instance?
I was always interested in becoming a doctor because both my parents were doctors. They were in central government.
Okay.
So I was always inclined towards coming into medicine line. After the 12th standard, where I thought I was very much confident, rather overconfident, that I would get more than 95, 96% easily. That overconfident phase was too much for me to handle, and I ended up getting only 75%. So I had to choose engineering in the sense to begin with. So 6 months of mechanical engineering I did. After that, I got into medicine in Karnataka.
Okay.
So I joined medicine, but by the time I had lost my interest in medicine, but because my mom
persisted.
Really persisted. In a way, in the hindsight, that was a good decision that I came into medicine. Whatever that 6 months of mechanical engineering taught me to fix things with nuts and bolts, I just persisted. That came in handy, and I became an orthopedic surgeon.
Right. And where are you from originally?
I'm from Karnataka.
Okay.
So North Karnataka, that's my native. But my education has been in Maharashtra mostly. Because of the transferable job of my parents, I've been in Maharashtra. But when I did my post-graduation in Bangalore, that's where I got hitched and got married and then continued to stay in Bangalore. Now I moved to Mysore though.
So you practice in Mysore?
I am a freelancer by choice. I am practicing in Mysore, Bangalore, as well as in Oman. So I visit Muscat 1 week every month, and the remaining times I am in either Mysore or Bangalore, but mostly in Mysore.
So काफी फैला हुआ business है, that means.
I wouldn't say it's a काफी फैला हुआ business, but I've chosen this way. Because earlier when I was a full-timer, I was almost working 85 to 90 hours under a lot of pressure from the corporate management and everything, whatever you call it. But I was not able to find time for myself at all. At least now, even including the travel time, I am spending about 15 to 20 hours a week. And I'm able to give time to myself and my family as well.
We'll come to that because that's, I think, a lot of our viewers would want to know. How do you find time in the midst of all this chaos? We'll come to that in a bit. But before that, I would want to know something about your book. What is it about, The Inner Compass? What does the title exactly mean? And in what category would you categorize it? Is it a self-help book? Is it a sort of autobiography or some random observations? How would you categorize it?
See, basically the book was initially conceived as just a few quotes. Mm-hmm. The quotes, they are all my self-made quotes, which have originated from my work experience or my life experiences. I've started writing these quotes way back in 2012, I guess. Maybe 2012 or 2013 was the first time I started writing a few quotes. Mm-hmm. Then, just to confirm that quote was original and not plagiarized, I used to put the quote in verbatim on Google and search whether that quote has been taken. And then since no one was there, I thought, okay, then maybe that's the original one. So I wrote it on my name. Of late, recently, I found some time for myself, and one of my very good colleagues, Dr. Munjal Panda, he came up with his own book of his own practical wisdoms, and he published it on his own. So that gave me an impetus. Maybe I can also do the same thing. So it happened that I could just find some time and keep expanding the quotes into the chapters. That's how the book was born. And I got in touch with BookLeaf Publishing, and they helped me publish the book.
So peer pressure could be a good thing, guys. As I asked, what does the inner compass actually mean?
I use that word as practical wisdom, basically. Few pointers about, maybe I'm not that successful or famous that I would want to call myself as, but after a certain level, people write their wisdoms and their versions of how the life should move on and what kind of a knowledge they want to impart. Mm-hmm. But I thought it's not that I have to reach that level for me to give off my experience. I can share it as and when it's possible for me. So certain work-related issues and certain life-related quotes is what I built it up and made it into a few chapters. So you can classify it as a practical wisdom book, non-fiction, practical wisdom.
Okay.
Originated from my own experiences as well as others.
So, after a point of time, I think everyone feels like they should jot down whatever they have learned from life, right?
Yeah.
All through their experiences. And how many years have you been practicing medicine?
I've been into orthopedics for the last 18 years.
Oh, that's quite a long time. Okay. So, from stitching up patients to stitching together chapters, how did this journey actually start? Have you been writing all through these years, or was it just sudden inspiration that?
I'm glad you asked that question, because before I put it on the book, I used to write a few quotes, or not just quotes, but whatever I could feel about a particular topic. Mm-hmm. I used to write it on Facebook and upload it. I was quite active on Facebook earlier. So a lot of my friends said that you have the flair for writing. Why don't you take up writing?
Right.
One of my friends told me this long time back. I thought maybe I didn't take it seriously then, but now I should thank him. So that's how it is.
Okay, because writing medical reports and writing a book is a completely different thing. You have to get into a different kind of zone to pen down all of that.
Yeah, I understand that.
Have you also drawn inspiration from your patients that have visited you, your fellow doctors, that have made into this book?
Yes. Because a lot of my job demands that I interact with patients of different categories and the different financial backgrounds as well. And also I have interacted with many colleagues of mine. I have worked in India, I worked in Oman. I have had a few fellowship stints in Germany and US as well. So I've seen a lot of different working styles and work cultures and how they behave with the patients. And actually, I'm very glad that during my formative years, I've always been exposed to teachers who have taught a lot of things, keeping ethics as the main focus. Mm-hmm. So, as you asked me that if the quotes have been born because of that, there have been few quotes, especially the one on privileges, which I have written down, I think chapter 4 or chapter 5, which says that using the privileges that you have for a positive benefit of others is always better. Mm-hmm. Because the privileges can be used or abused for personal gains. Now, as a surgeon, I have a privilege that I can violate the integrity of a human body in order to fix something which is broken or which is not right, which is going wrong inside the human body. And that's a privilege which I should be using for the patient's benefit, for the benefit of the person who's suffering. I mean, of course, when I am operating, I get paid. But that should not be my primary aim of utilizing that privilege. Patient is coming to me with some kind of a faith. Yes. And I have to respect that faith.
Right.
There are many ways in which I can just blow things out of proportion and create a mountain out of a molehill and scare the patient.
Right.
And then a patient ends up getting the surgery when that is not required. Mm-hmm. Such kind of things are happening, which is, I am sorry to say, not a very happy picture. It's a sad state.
Yes.
I don't want to say that I don't want to give the picture that I am holier than thou, since in our field, and which is true with any other field, there are three types of people. One who are white, one who are black, and one who are in the gray zone. Right. White people in our field would be the people whom I would call that they stick to ethics no matter what. Whatever be the condition, they would stick to the books, they would stick to the ethics.
Do they exist?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are a lot of people who do.
Oh, okay.
And there are people who are in the gray. They are like overlooking the ethics where it is a matter of convenience. Like where you can say that if a patient can get benefited, patient has a 50% chance of getting benefited without the surgery. If the patient has a surgery also, there's 50% chance that he will recover. So they would stick to that, the surgical part, because then that would earn them the revenue.
Right.
They're not completely wrong. It's not like the black people who are saying that patient needs surgery even when it is not required at all. Denounce such kind of people. And I am very sorry to say that I know few people like that. Definitely I'll not be taking their names here, but there are people like that. So yes, those people do whatever. They will only look at earning money, even at the cost of patient's misery. So there are definitely people who are in the gray and people who are in the white. All these things have forced me to look at things from a deeper perspective and carry on to the legacy of my teachers who have taught me how to be treating and earning also ethically.
But medicine as a profession, as common people understand, is like quite money fetching, I could say. So why are these practices persistent still? Like, if doctors are getting paid well, then why do they resort to such practices?
I think it all comes down to the inner being, like how you are wired, or whether you want to change. Because at the end of the day, I would say that medicine should not be a pure healthcare business, right? It should not be a pure business. Healthcare cannot be a pure business, money-oriented business. But at the same time, it cannot be pure charity as well, because the doctor also has to live. He has to support his family. Right. He or she has to support their family. And it's just like, even if we say that I'm doing it for charity, there is no one else who's going to come and support me. And nowadays, the aura is such that genuinely also, if I try to do any charity, the patients would think that this doctor doesn't know anything. And that's why he's not charging me.
Right.
So that's the flip side. Yes. That's the other side of the coin.
Right. It could be seen in a different way. Yeah.
So that balance has to be maintained when we are practicing. And what is the question again? You said that...
why do doctors resort to such practices?
That all comes down to pressure and one-upmanship. And a sort of an insecurity that if I don't do it, someone else will do it. So why not me? Now, that's a flawed logic.
Yes.
That's a flawed logic. But if you are following that logic and you have that insecurity, God only can help you. I think that's why people are resorting to such kind of things.
Right.
Recently, if I have to share a personal experience, my father-in-law almost got operated for a robotic hernia repair.
Okay.
When it was not required at all. A very small hernia. I mean, I don't deal with hernias, but I have enough knowledge to decide whether a surgery is required or not. So it so happened that he underwent all the battery of tests and investigations, and despite him telling that his son-in-law is a doctor, and he himself is a retired DYSP who has served in SPG as well as in CBI. So imagine that even such learned people can be conned. So what is the status of those people who just come with a blind faith?
Right.
And aren't we as doctors killing that faith? That is the question.
I mean, there's a huge moral responsibility, especially in India, where doctors are like treated as, equivalent to God almost.
So that's what. And as whenever that thing used to happen to me, I used to stand up for the patient's right, and I used to question my colleagues when I used to see something of this sort going on. So that's the reason why I was not very much liked by the management when I was working as a full-timer.
Okay.
But on the flip side, they couldn't even kick me out because my patient results were good, thank God. None of the patients whom I have operated on have had any severe, if I say that they don't have any complications, I would be lying. Minor complications are a part and parcel of any major surgery. So, but most of them have gone on to lead their happy lives. So my patient results were good by God's grace, and the management couldn't kick me out because of that. But yes, I was a bitter pill for the management to swallow.
Is there any specific instance, like where your inner compass told you to do the right thing when the other people did not want you to?
When I joined one of the major multinational hospitals, when I was working as a full-timer in Oman, within 1 week of joining, the hospital manager comes and tells me that here you'll make a lot of money. I was like, taken aback a little bit, but it's okay. I listened to him, what he's saying, the way how he's talking. So he said, here we provide you a lot of incentives for procedures being done. So doctors are making a lot of money. That was kind of a shock for me with the way he talked, the way he put it across. So I told him flatly one thing. I almost told his name. I don't want to.
Don't worry, we'll cut that.
I said, Mr. Manager, incentive is something which will not drive me to work. If a patient deserves surgery, if the patient has indication for surgery, and if I tell the patient or the patient agrees for surgery, I do the surgery, and then if I get an incentive, I'll gladly take it. But because there is an incentive involved, you don't expect me to operate on that. I will not work like that.
Right.
So I told him flat on his face, and that was like
a blow to him.
But yes, there came a time where I was, because of the pressure, what I said, I was coming to the gray area. I won't say that I am completely white. See, I have never operated on a patient when it is not required. But yes, I have got a few extra investigations done sometimes. That was only with the belief that already the blood has been drawn. So a couple more investigations may not matter much. So yeah, I accept that I am in that gray area. I'm not completely white. But yeah, there came a time when because of the pressure and a lot of things, I was supposed to increase my surgical numbers or something. So I started going more towards that 50% what I mentioned earlier, that if the patient could be conserved and if the patient could have the same result while surgery also. So I used to work up that patient for surgery. But it so happened that once I chose that patient for surgery, that patient was quite obese. I would not have otherwise operated on that patient. But then the amount of struggle I had to go through that procedure.
Right.
It's not that I abandoned the procedure in the midway. I completed the procedure. But then at the back of the mind, when I went home, I realized, is it worth that struggle? Earning a few extra bucks? No, it is not. From then on, I decided, no, if the patient really needs surgery, the chances of the patient getting better with surgery are more than 60 to 75%, only then I'm going to offer him surgery. Otherwise, I'm going to offer conservative.
Interesting. Okay. So, one question that I would want to ask you is, doctors do generally offer charity operations as well. So, is there any way that they could financially supplement their income in that case? Like we were also speaking off camera about it. Your doctor's group is something onto it. So expand more upon it, and what advice would you offer some budding doctors so that they could have a passive income, so that medicine as a field does not become a play area for money?
With the same idea that what you mentioned, that it should not become the field for earning money. I think in 2011 or 2012, one of the quite famous actors, perfectionist, he came up with a program which was sort of an expose. Okay. So one of the episodes exposed certain unethical practices which were quite common in the large corporate hospitals. And at that time, somehow all the doctors got so angry, so mighty angry. And we were right to get angered, because it was a non-medico who was speaking about things which are happening in the medicine. He doesn't have any knowledge about it. He is getting paid almost 1 crore rupees for an episode, and he's talking about doctors who are who should be doing charity.
Right.
I mean, first you get into our shoes and then see the kind of pressures which the doctors are working in, and then understand. And this is, I'm talking about those people who are in the gray. I'm not talking about people those who are in the black. So you can't help them. They are wired to make money at the patient's cost. But I'm talking about the majority of the people who are gray or white, okay, who are suffering with all kind of pressures from the management and get hit from the patients, also get bashed up from the patients when the results don't go their way. The patients also have to realize that results are not in our control. We do our job, right? There are so many things which can go wrong. Even if it's a small cut which needs to be stitched, there are so many things which can go wrong, 1,000 things which can go wrong. For that, the anesthetist is working and the surgeon is working and the team of nurses who are constantly in observing the parameters and everything. But, not every time that things are in control. It's just like flying an airplane. Despite you going through all the checklists, a small error here and there can give to untoward results, right? So with such kind of pressures, it becomes very difficult for any doctor to just follow his passion. Because he also or she also has to support his or her family. They have their own aspirations. They want to do they want to open up maybe their own setup. They want to travel the world just like anyone else. They want their kids to be successful. They want to have money for themselves, their own money. Every aspiration, human aspirations,
at the end
basically.
Of the day, they are humans too.
Human. So, but the kind of pressures which we doctors are having, rarely I would say the non-medicals would be going through that kind of a pressure. There was an incident where there was a time when the manhandling of doctors was becoming too much. And then the doctors went on strike. And then the Supreme Court said, some court, they said, if you're afraid, don't come to the job, don't come to work. If you're afraid of getting bashed up, don't come to work. The things are not looking very good. With the recent thing which happened in Kolkata, that was very grave. I mean, my heart goes out for that poor girl. And for no fault of hers, despite she was working 36 hours straight, the sad fate which she met, that was very heartbreaking.
Yes.
And the apathy of the authorities over that incident, then finally vilifying the doctors themselves for all the thing. It's very much troublesome.
Right.
Back in 2017, one of our sirs, I would call him sir, because he's Ram sir for us. Ram sir. His name is Dr. Ramnath Guthe. He's a radiologist in Bombay. He was the one who put the idea into doctors that, we should be working for the passion. We should work for passion, earn money actively, whatever work we are doing, for that we should earn actively. He's not denying that. But we should take the control of finances in our own hands. So that's when he started a group called WealthCon. So we have a website, wealthconindia.com. So on that platform, only doctors are taken in. And to keep a proper understanding between all the people who are on WealthCon, only MBBS doctors are taken in.
Okay.
Not even dentists. So my wife cannot be a part of it because she's a dentist.
Why is that? Why is it separation?
It's not that we want to be separate, but it's that the understanding is better when the platform is common.
Okay, right.
Okay, the aspirations of people, aspirations of the doctors and everything. When the platform is common, it's easier to pass on the message.
Right. To connect. Basically.
To connect, yeah. Yes. So he started WealthCon, which started with a group of 3 or 4 people. And right now it has touched almost 2 lakh doctors across India and across the world.
Right.
Indian doctors, of course. So we teach each other investment and trading as well in the equity markets with a clear-cut idea that this should not take over our primary work, which is healthcare.
Great. That's a great initiative.
So we are now working for passion. We are earning from our active source of income by working in hospitals or working in clinics or treating the patients. But we also do investment and trading. Not like the day traders who are always on the screen. No.
Like you offer insights like these shares to buy, these.
No, we don't give tips.
No, then
we don't give tips at all. We teach them. I also learned with other doctors, and now I have sort of become part of people group who are teaching others.
Okay.
So it's an understanding. we give them the power and independence to learn the finances, to take control of their own finances. So, because the thing is that as long as you're dependent on somebody for tips, if the tips goes wrong, you stand to get blamed. But if you do your own study, the conviction is more.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's the reason. And now we have almost 2 lakh doctors, as I mentioned. And there are almost 10 to 15,000 doctors who are doing active trading. I am glad to say that when Warren Buffett mentioned that the futures and options is an instrument for mass wealth destruction. And it is true, because it's a zero-sum game. Futures and options is a zero-sum game.
Yes.
As SEBI data also mentioned that 90% of people who do futures and options lose money.
Yeah.
So where does the money go? To the 10% who make profit. And all of the 15,000 doctors who are in our group are in that 10% bracket.
Amazing. That's great.
So yeah, that's definitely has given a lot of advantage. And to come back to the question which you asked, how am I finding time? This is how I'm finding time, because now I have segregated my work. I am now selecting my patients to support my passion, which is sports medicine and joint replacements. Earlier, I had to see all sorts of the patients for which I don't even have any aptitude for. When I should be knowing my limitations. If I am not able to treat a patient, there is no point in unnecessarily pulling.
Absolutely,
I can refer the patient to the person who's doing a better job than me.
Yes.
So now that I have that extra time, I'm devoting that to follow other passions of mine.
Right. So it's sort of a hobby for you.
Yeah, taken up as a hobby, and one thing leads to the other. I came up with this book titled Inner Compass, and I have few more books which I am already writing down. Next book already about 7 chapters in. So that's a book which is on a totally different subject. It's on the entangled realms, different realms like quantum body, quantum mechanics, the human subconscious, and the space.
Okay.
Hopefully, maybe in the next few months, that book should also come up for publishing.
Sounded like Inception something. Completely went over.
No, the idea which I wanted to say is that, see, you have, not just me, any person has multiple facets. You cannot, if you are a doctor, it's not necessary that you continue to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. If you are a computer engineer, you continue to be a computer engineer. There are so many other things which you can do as a human being. And it is not that me as a doctor, being a doctor is the only way to do charity or to do that kind of a work. Right. Anybody can do it.
Yes, absolutely. We have industrialists as well. Right.
Yeah, philanthropy. They do philanthropy. But, we being in the healthcare organization, I would not call it as a business, a healthcare setup, we have that opportunity. And this happened, personally, this was during COVID time. I was still in Oman at that time as a full-timer. During COVID time, elective surgeries had completely stopped. We were doing only emergencies.
Elective as in?
Elective as in people who come, they get investigated and they get diagnosed, and then we decide that they have this surgery.
Okay.
They need this surgery. So it's not like a life...
Non-emergency kind of. Yeah, okay.
So non-emergency basically. So we're taking in only emergencies. And it so happened that the government hospital, they stopped taking in all the expats in Oman. Okay. Expats in the sense all the foreigners.
Yes,
so all the foreigners being rushed to the private hospitals where we were working. So one of the Bangladeshis, quite a poor chap, he came in with a fractured thigh bone. Mm-hmm. It so happened that because of the COVID situation, at that time we couldn't even in time source the proper implants which were needed for that particular surgery. So I did the surgery because it had to be done at that time.
Right.
But required implant was not available. The surgery was not up to my happiness. Bone was there. Mm-hmm. Bone was fixed. Plate was fixed. But when I went home, I couldn't look myself into the mirror and say, no, you did a shabby job. Since the patient was already poor, they were already paying 50% of the money what was being charged for a regular patient. But then I couldn't sleep. Afternoon, generally I used to take nap, so I couldn't sleep at that time. So I thought maybe I will not be able to get a proper sleep even tonight. So I spoke with the management. I said, see, such and such thing happened. I am not happy with my job. I want to do it again. So at that time, I waited. I somehow got the proper implants, which required. I mean, and in the hindsight, if I had waited a few hours, the implant would have possibly been delivered, and I would have done the surgery a little later. But at that time, the emergency situation so persisted that, okay, I can just finish it off. And I did that. But when that happened again, so I did the patient, I redid the surgery on the same day, and then I fixed it. And then the patient was happy and I was also happy. Basically, that's how, I say that we should be working. At the end of the day, when you go home and look yourself into the mirror and say you can get a good, peaceful sleep, you have done a better job for that day.
Well said, well said. Right.
Conscience matters.
As Mahatma Gandhi said, that code of conscience is the highest conscience.
I'm not that great, definitely, but...
we could at least, persevere to follow that.
Yeah.
Have you watched Grey's Anatomy?
Only a few episodes.
So there's a Dr. Shepherd, you might know.
Yeah.
And he has a mantra there which says it's a beautiful day to save lives. Do you have a personal mantra of that sort which you go before a surgery?
Yeah, I always chant God's name before I go to the surgery, whatever be the surgery, whether it is a minor which takes me only 5 to 10 minutes or whether something which is going to take me 1.5 hours. But I always chant God's name before I go into the surgery. And after the surgery is done, I always thank God. And the other thing which I keep following is that I don't skip any step during the surgery. I may have done about 2,000, 300,000 surgeries of the same kind, but that does not mean that I should be skipping a step.
Right.
I do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and only then I know that I have done a proper job. Mm-hmm. Because at the back of the mind, if I skip one step, the step which follows, it starts compounding. The mistakes, they start compounding. That happens. The experience teaches you.
Yes, yes.
So not to skip any step.
Does it turn mundane, like if you do the same kind of surgeries over and over?
If you're working for passion, it doesn't sound mundane at all.
Right.
So I would like to really thank Dr. Dinshaw Pardiwala, who's my mentor, under whom I got trained with the passion. I saw the passion that guy has for sports medicine, and that just got instilled in me as well. One day I hope that I become at least 10% of what he is today.
Best wishes. Does sports medicine sort of, relate to, we see sports in television, something?
Yeah, contact sports, cricket, football, volleyball, anything. So all these patients, they come in with ligament injuries of the knee and ankle mostly, and shoulders as well. So we are treating those patients based on their requirement and putting them back onto the field. That gives you that kind of a gratification which is rarely seen in any other work.
Right. I myself have been practicing running for some time, and I know the challenges when you start from zero. So there will be shin splits, there will be a knee pain, ankle pain, all sorts of pain. So what advice would you offer to someone, into sports or in general also to take care of the bone health?
There are a lot of things which are there in the market which say that you take this tablet or you take this oil and all the pains, they just go off. But as long as you have a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet, all those things are really not required. No supplements are required if you are having a healthy lifestyle and a healthy food habit. Basically, if you do not take proper food right now, you would end up taking more medicines later. The food becomes the medicine then.
Right.
I mean, the medicine becomes the food. Yeah. The medicine becomes the food, sorry.
Yes.
So treat the food itself as a food medicine, and then you won't be requiring any medicines. A lot of diet fads are there, like keto diet, all these things.
Yes.
So they are saying that, cut down carbohydrates. So Carbohydrates, if you cut down, you will lose your fat. You won't get fat and everything. That's how you lose. But these are all unsustainable. They cannot be sustained in longer run.
Absolutely, yes.
And see, a human body requires everything. It requires carbohydrates, it requires proteins, it requires fats, it requires minerals, it requires vitamins, everything. So if you deprive your body of certain things, that is the worst thing which you can do to your body. So there's a sister concern of WealthCon. We call it HealthCon. So in that, again, a lot of doctors themselves have got benefited. So we attempted this regime, the HealthCon lifestyle regime, what we call. We attempted this on us first.
Okay.
And seeing the benefit for our own self, we started offering it to our patients, and now the patients are getting benefited doubly.
Right.
I would not shy away from saying what the HealthCon lifestyle regimen is. It's simple. One thing is you cut down sugar. Cut down in the sense totally stop. Sugar is not required for the body. Carbohydrates are required, I agree, but sugars are not required. Sugar is the enemy, basically. Anything which is white is the enemy. Sugar, white, that is the refined flour, white rice, all these are the polished rice, whatever we call. So those are all things which are devoid of any nutrients. They are purely weight-building carbs. Anything which is sweet, even the artificial sweetener, so to speak, as soon as it touches your tongue, it starts producing insulin. The pancreas starts producing insulin, thinking it is sugar. Now, it cannot differentiate the sweetness on the tongue from that of the sugar or from the artificial sweetener. It determines that, okay, but the body has something sweet, so I should produce insulin. And that's how the insulin is the fattening hormone. That's how people become fat by eating more sugar, dumping in more calories. What we have observed is as soon as we stopped sugar completely, within the first 2 to 3 weeks, we lost 5 kgs. That gives the impetus to continue it forwards. And then reduce your interval meals. Reduce means stop completely. You have only 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Do not munch anything in between. Because as soon as you start munching, the body starts the digestive process again and again and again. The more process happens, the more hormones are produced, and that's how the weight gain happens.
Right.
This along with this coupled with weekly fasts of 24 hours. 24 hours fasting of liquid fasting basically.
Okay.
So you don't take anything solid. You take liquids, water, buttermilk, or sugarless tea, sugarless
Juices.
Coffee, whatever. Juices without sugar, of course. Fresh fruit juices without sugar. So you can take that. So that allows a little bit of a rest to the digestive system as well. This along with daily exercise, routine exercises. You don't have to go hit the gym, take in a lot of proteins, supplements and all that fad. Not required. Just your daily routine exercises like a few kilometers of walk or jog, cycling, anything.
Right.
This definitely helps you in gaining better health as well as maintaining it. I myself was 82 kgs once, totally fat and all puffy. But now I have reduced to about 67 and I'm maintaining.
Great. But seeing the lifestyle nowadays, I think it's very difficult to actually follow that because there's always that, that eagerness to just try something new in the market, then keep munching on. It's very difficult to keep up that lifestyle.
Everything just comes down to the patience or the discipline which you follow for your own body. Because as I mentioned, all these things, what you said, that the marketeers, they do the advertisements, they catch your eyes and you suddenly start feeling a little drawn towards it. That is a thing which you need to control. Once you're able to control that drawingness of a feeling towards that, you just say that, no, this is not good for my health. Because what they are doing is just selling their products.
Right.
This is what happened. And the cholesterol was made to be the bad guy. Where the sugar is the main bad thing. Sugar is the villain. But the cholesterol was vilified and sugar was pumped in.
Right.
And a lot of patients, they became diabetic, hypertensive and all those things.
Yes.
Yeah? Now cholesterol, nobody's talking about cholesterol.
It's vanished from the market.
Yeah, so that's how it is.
There's always been a problem with vegetarians especially. Like, what should they consume?
Are you a vegetarian, if I may ask?
Yes.
I am a vegetarian too.
It's very difficult for them to keep up with the protein intake. Then
there are a lot of things which are they're good for vegetarian and proteins as well. I mean, pulses, the soya bean, very rich in protein. So it's not that you should supplement everything with soya bean itself, but there are a lot of proteinaceous food, the pulses and everything. That is enough for the body. You don't have to take the protein supplements as what the gym people ask you to. Right. And even non-vegetarians, they take the red meat or white meat. I'm not against non-vegetarians. It's their food choice. Everybody has freedom.
Absolutely, yes.
But health-wise also, there are certain non-veg foods which are safer and which are healthier as compared to others. Like consuming pork or beef or even mutton is much worse for the body rather than consuming chicken or say fish or something which has digestible proteins. So that's what we call them as white meat and red meat.
Right.
Red meat is too tough for the body. See, human beings have evolved over millions of years. And here is what I would say, the debate between the vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism, which is superior. Maybe my non-veg friends may not like it, but evolution-wise, anything that has evolved from something has always taken the superiority, right? Human being was a carnivore before he learned farming. Once he learned farming, he became a vegetarian.
Yes.
So vegetarianism has evolved. So any vegetarian should not feel that I am not getting enough proteins or enough fats or anything. Whatever you're having in your daily diet, that's more than enough. There was a time when I was 82 kgs. And people were saying, you're a vegetarian, where do you get your proteins from? I used to tell them, forget about proteins, wonder where I'm getting my fat from.
Right. So being a doctor is a very exhausting kind of job, kind of takes a toll on you mentally and physically both. So what is your coping mechanism for this? How do you cope with the stress? How do you find time for yourself? How do you rejuvenate? How do you give time to your family, your hobbies, your passions? How do you make time for all of that?
I'm glad you asked that because I cannot speak about other doctors because I am not into their specialty and I don't know how they manage their stresses. But for me, as long as I do the surgery as per my plan and it goes off, that gives me immense gratification. That itself is a big relaxation for me. It's not that every time it's smooth. Many times I've struggled.
Right.
And many times there have been thought blocks as to what will I do now. But then at that time, I just sit for a while, take deep breaths, meditate for some time, and then go through my steps again in my mind, saying, okay, now what can I do? Along with that, there'll be my assistants and my nurses. So they also operate along with others. Like it's not that they always assist me. They assist others as well. So I'm open to receiving the ideas from them as to, okay, now what should I do? I ask them many times. And they say, sir, can we do it this way? I take their advice. It's not that, Arey, tum to nurse ho, you're a nurse, why are you give me advice?
Yes,
no.
yes.
Because after all, they are also seeing so many different things. They are also experienced.
They are also gaining experience doing that.
And the other thing that even after such a thing, if things go well, that itself is a good enough gratification. But yes, there are stresses. Many times patients, they are in the ICU for a little longer than expected. That puts a lot of stress. Spending time with the family. I would like to imagine that I'm spending time decently, but family thinks that I'm not spending enough time.
They think otherwise.
Yeah, so yes, definitely. Spending time with them is kind of very much relaxing. I play a few games of chess with my son. My daughter and my son, they both play music. So along with them, sometimes when they're playing, I just sit around, listen to their music. I also sing myself. So I have a few thousand songs recorded on this Mule app. That's how I bust my stresses.
Right. Please, let's have a round of applause for Dr. Shirish. Please, doctor, please. Any song.
Oh, God. Seriously,
Let's have it.
Which English, Hindi?
Hindi.
Hindi song. This song is very much close to me. I mean, I love this song. And it also signifies one of the quotes from my book, which is towards the end, which is asking the readers to love life because life is unpredictable. The quote is, "The most certain thing in life is still uncertain." By this quote, I want to say that the most certain thing in life is death, which is uncertain. So we should be loving life and living life, not because we don't know when that uncertainty becomes certain.
Right, absolutely.
Right. So there is this song in one of my favorite movies, Golmaal, the old one, the original Golmaal. Aane wala pal jaane wala hai.
Right. Please.
So it's like, ah, ah, आने वाला पल जाने वाला है, हो सके तो इसमें जिंदगी बिता दो, पल जो ये जाने वाला है, हो आने वाला पल जाने वाला है.
Great. Lovely, lovely. So that's another one of your hobby. Quite a man of talents.
I should thank my father. He had much more talents than me.
Is this one inherited?
Yeah, song, music, yeah, definitely. He could play many instruments than me.
Great.
I am only on the keyboards and I am a self-taught guitarist. But I lost the ability to play chords when I sustained a fracture to my ring finger.
Oh.
So I can't play chords now, but I can still play leads. So.
Unfortunately, we don't have a guitar here. Do we?
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm blessed with an equally talented wife who has talents in other regards. I mean, she being a dentist, she has followed her passion and she became a fashion designer as well. And she became an artist as well. She's now teaching other kids fun with arts.
Right.
She's doing that for her passion. And some of the things which I have learned, like working for your passion, I've learned from her as well because she's a passionate dentist herself and doing everything, taking care of the kids, family while I'm away many times in a month. Really, I'm blessed to have that kind of a family.
Interesting. So, we have seen quite a lot of medical movies by now, quite a lot of representations of medical students in web series, in movies, all sorts of drama we have seen.
True.
How much of that is true? And what in your own personal life you have experienced, like all through your post-graduation and does ragging happen and did it happen to you?
Yes,
know all of
ragging, yeah, quite severe. And it was that time when the anti-ragging committee was not that strong. But on the hindsight, when I see that all that ragging did, initially, yeah, it was all painful and it was all demeaning for us. But all that did was it made our relationships with our seniors very much strong.
Ragging made it?
Yeah, ragging made it. On the flip side, that's what I'm saying. Because after 2 years of me joining MBBS, when I became a senior, we also used to rag our juniors. So after that, the anti-ragging committee came and became very strict. Mm-hmm. So the kind of relationships which I have with our juniors after 2 years, they're completely lost. Only those immediate juniors and the next batch and our few seniors who had ragged us, we are still in connect. We are still talking with each other, just like, we are thickest of the friends.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, definitely, when it becomes very severe, anything in extreme is bad. Mm-hmm. But we used to have ragging as a fun way. Our seniors used to do the same thing and that's what we also followed. And most of these relationships and most of this learning happens during your formative years itself. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that, my teachers were also quite good in that regard. But there were other doctors, other teachers also, from whom I learned how not to do things, because that's also important. How not to do things.
Yes.
There's a story about my own post-graduation where my boss, I used to always question his practices. There was a particular patient who had come for limb lengthening. His problem was in the lower leg bone. Now, I'm using non-medical terms here because if I use the medical terms, nobody will understand.
Yes, please.
The leg bone, he had a problem that the leg bone was shorter. But in the lower limb, there are two bones. One is the leg bone and one is the thigh bone. His issue was in the thigh bone.
Okay.
Both his legs were fine, but the left thigh was shorter by 5 centimeters. And my boss, my TNB coordinator boss, whatever you want to call him, he said, we'll increase the length of the leg. I said, sir, you're solving one problem, that you're correcting the limb length discrepancy, but you're creating another problem by giving the patient two knee joints at different levels.
Yes.
Which will be so awkward for the patient to sit, to walk.
Yes.
You're addressing one problem but creating many. Why not address the same problem in the same bone which is affected? And this I ended up asking in front of the patient, to which he got mighty angry and he called me out and he scolded that he's his patient and all that thing and falana. And I said, I did my job. I don't know what you're going to do.
Yes.
But even then, I was not very scared that, I am taking it up directly with my institute owner who might kick me out of my post-graduation. At the back of the mind, I knew he couldn't because my seat was from New Delhi. So he couldn't do anything. But anyway, I was not with that idea that I confronted him. I confronted him with the patient's point.
Yes.
But he ended up doing the same thing. And despite my best interests for the patient also couldn't understand why I am saying like this.
Yes.
Patient ended up having the leg bone lengthening, suffered. So such kind of things happen, and I have learned now how not to do things.
Does it also make sort of difficult to deal with people in positions of higher authority because they might be of different opinion than you, and sort of a clash ensues in between? How do you deal with that?
See, many times what happens is the opinions are not starkly different. Like for a treatment, like if there is a fracture, it needs to be fixed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But there are certain fractures wherein the displacement of the bone, like displacement in the sense now the bones are together like this. If the bones are overriding so much, definitely the surgery is required. But if the bones are together like this, there is a chance that you can treat that in a plaster. At that time, we discuss with the patient the pros and cons of the plaster and pros and cons of the surgery and the risks involved in both. And let the patient make an informed choice and follow that way. But yes, sometimes, as you mentioned, the arguments ensue. At that time, it boils down to what is there in the literature.
Okay.
So we do discuss on the literature as to what are the benefits, and then we come up to a conclusion. After all, this can happen only when there is an involvement of other doctor in. But if the patient is coming under your treatment, you are the ones who are going to decide it. When the patient comes in for a second opinion, and my second opinion, there's one more thing about this. Yeah, during working in Oman when I was a full-timer there, a patient's father came in with the patient. Patient was a young male, like a 12-year-old or something, with a plastered hand. So he came in and he said, "Doctor, I just want to take a second opinion." I said, "Fine, just open up the file and come." Because everything is on the system online.
Yes.
He said, "Yes, definitely I'll open. I just wanted to show the x-ray." I said, "Fine, show me." So then he said, "Will it require surgery?" So I said, "Just open up the plaster. I'll examine the kid." And because the x-ray showed that there was a little bit of a deformity. Not very severe, but I have been taught by my teachers that we should be treating the patient, not the x-ray. We should be treating the patient, not the x-ray. X-ray, there is a fracture. You can operate that. But what if the patient doesn't have any physical deformity at all?
Right.
So I asked the patient, open up the plaster, and saw the deformity is not at all major or severe. And it's a 12-year-old kid. He has another 6 to 8 years of growing potential. So the remodeling happens. So whatever deformity I'm seeing on the x-ray, I'm sure I was confident that it will disappear. I said surgery is not required. It is then I realized that the person who had suggested the surgery was sitting next room. He saw the X-ray and said surgery is required.
Huh.
And I examined the patient and said surgery is not required. We can continue conservative. So the patient went and complained against the doctor, against the other doctor. And the management came and they're questioning me. So at that time, I just asked him, did you open the plaster and check?
Yes.
You saw the X-ray. Did you open the plaster and check? He said, no. I said, that's it.
Now you know who to believe.
Yeah, but the management was angry that they lost the surgery. But I was happy that I did the right thing.
Followed your inner compass.
For my inner compass, right.
But like in medicine, often there's a very fixed problem, a very well-defined sort of problem that you have to operate on this. And often there's a literature that you follow. There's a written word about it, how to go about it. There's a manual.
Yes.
But in life's problem, mostly there is always that gray area. There are no particular defined problems. There are no defined solutions to those problems as well. So how does one navigate through one's inner compass? How does one follow that wisdom that we have when everything is sort of standing up against us?
I wouldn't say that things were hunky-dory always, and things will never be hunky-dory for anyone. Even if it is all famous people like Warren Buffett or Mukesh Ambani, they had their shares of pressures, situations, and how they have fought over it and come out. I had my share of it, and hopefully I think that that's the worst which has happened. I pray to God that nothing worse should happen any further. But when I lost my father, I had already quit my job in India, and I had accepted a proposal for a job in Oman. My dad, I lost him quite all of a sudden, like within 15 days of him taking ill, I lost him. But at that time, I was neck deep or maybe totally head deep in debt.
Okay.
So I had to support my family and my own aspirations and everything.
You were married then?
Yeah. I had a baby also. I had my daughter.
Okay.
So my daughter was almost 5 years old and my wife was carrying with my son. Many times for a man, the decisions become financial. So when my daughter was 3 years old, my wife said, let us have another baby. I said, yaar, paise nahi hai. So it's like, my wife is like, tum paise pe sab kuch kaise kar sakti ho? How can you look at everything from the financial point of view? I said, that is one of the main points which I have to look at it.
Right.
I'm even now, 18 years of the marriage, I am trying to make her understand, but the views are different and I respect her views also. So for 2 years, we were at loggerheads that she said, we want a baby. I said, no, yaar, one is enough. But then somehow, as is the rule, I had to give in. And my wife was already carrying. That's when I went to Oman. But when I went to Oman, instead of splurging on myself first, because now I started earning better, much better than what I was earning in India, my first priority was to clear up the debts from all my friends or relatives from whom I had taken the debt. Because my parents have supported me very much. They supported me throughout my MBBS and my post-graduation, even because I got married during the post-graduation time. They supported me financially very well. And there was a time when I felt, how much are you going to drain your parents of your finances?
That feeling eventually creeps in.
So then it started begging with my friends, and they were supportive. So my first priority was to clear off all that debt. Only then, after 6 months of earning there and clearing off their debts, then I started saving for myself. That's when I realized, now I can relax.
Right. एक मुझे ये भी पूछना था, like Indian or foreign medicine practices में, like you chose the Oman one. So like which one is better, do you feel, and what is the difference?
I chose Oman because I didn't have any other option. Like as a surgeon, as an orthopedic surgeon, my choices are limited. US, UK, Australia, Singapore, they will not take me because it's a high-paying branch. And they basically want to reserve it for their own doctors, their own medical graduates. But in Middle East, what has happened is the expertise was not there much. The expertise was provided by us Indians. Basically, what the Middle Easterns are calling right now that they have grown so much and everything, major part of it has to do with us Indians, because civil or healthcare or education, whatever it is, it has been provided by us Indians. Money has come from elsewhere.
Yes.
They had their own money, or money must have come from Europe or US or
They had
anywhere.
oil.
They have oil. But the major workforce was us Indians. White collar jobs. Even today, most of the business owners in Middle East are Indians. So their economy itself is because of us.
Yes.
So in a way, it was a good thing for me that here, if I had persisted, the hierarchy is too much in India. If I had persisted, probably I would have never been able to rise up the ranks because there is so much of competition here. So when I went to Oman, I had a strict thing in my mind that I should be valuing my skills. People have gone there for money, no doubt. People have gone there to earn money. But in doing so, they have lost their skills because they have accepted clinic jobs. But I was very much particular that I should get into a hospital where I should be continuing to have my skills being utilized for the benefit of the patients as well as for my own upgrowth. So I chose a hospital wherein the cases are good enough. Luckily, they had an opening, so I also joined at that time there. So I could not only continue but hone my skills further, did a few more fellowships while I was working in Oman. And now I'm confident of my skills and happily working for the passion that way.
Great.
Because skills is something which you should value. Money will come and go. Skills, once you're lost, very difficult to get back.
Right. Absolutely. Well said. Many times it's very difficult to balance the two. Like you do have a passion and then there's also finances to keep in check. So as you said that your trading community and all sorts of things.
True.
So yes. So you do balance with that, with passive income.
Yes.
What sort of advice would you give to budding medical students so that they don't get too drawn towards unethical practices while also taking care of their finances and following their passion of serving the community?
See, that's what I'm saying. A majority of the decisions which any human being takes, it is based on it eventually boils down to the finances. So if you're financially sound, then there is nothing which will prevent you from working for happiness. A person, when he becomes a doctor, unless he's criminal minded, unless he has that kind of a black thought mentality, right? He will never want to do any damage to any person, any other fellow human being. Because that is what criminals do. None of us are born criminals, right? So some of them are psychopathic. So you can't help them.
Yes.
As long as your finances are under your control, automatically things fall into place. Then there is no other pressure. Finances are the only thing which are putting a lot of pressure onto onto people. One cannot be purely spiritual and one should not be purely materialistic as well. There has to be a fine balance between both. So that's what we need to maintain.
Yes.
So the advice I would like to give to young budding doctors would be to search for WealthCon India, join the community and learn investment and trading, learn how to do passive investment, and then keep following your passion for work. Don't make earning from investment or trading your primary source of earning. That should be passive.
Yes.
Active must be through doing better for the society what you have learnt by putting a lot of years in learning this medicine and then doing post-graduation and honing your skills for.
Yes.
That should be your primary source of earning and service.
Right. Is there anything, if there's one thing that you could change about the medical industry in India, whether it be in the education sector or how doctors practice the medicine or, even patient behavior, if there's one thing that you could change, what would it be?
Very difficult to point out a single thing which needs to change because I think patient education is very important. Lot of patients, of course, because it involves human relationships, emotions, they take priority over anything else. Unlike Western patients, where they are informed about each and everything, and they understand because it's there in the education as well. Even if the patient has to have multiple surgeries or anything, the patient agrees and understands and take the risks and they know that it is their healing process which is delaying it and everything. But here what has happened is, in our country basically, when you say that to the patient, the surgery hasn't gone on as planned and you may have to have a second procedure, immediately the patient mind closes to the doctor. Then they are not listening. Then they are already made up their mind that the doctor is bad.
Yes, yes.
Because it's all human, this thing, right? I mean, the healing, how the body heals, very difficult to know. It is always a dictum. I treat, he heals. Now, I cannot know how the nature is going to heal. So it's very difficult to point out one thing. But yes, patient education is something which we need to focus on. Once the patients are able to understand, then the things will become much more smoother.
So patient education is the key.
Patient education is the key, yes. That's where most of the focus right now is on in the current healthcare. You'll see a lot of websites talking a lot about the procedures which have been put up on their own homepage.
Yes, yes.
Every doctor has their own website. Even I have my own website. Hospital has that website. And a lot of pages are dedicated to patient education to show what procedures are done, what it entails, what kind of complications can happen. So I think before doing any surgery, it's always that we take an informed written consent from the patient. That is where we also have to focus on talking to the patient in detail about, this is the procedure. This is how it is going to be expected recovery time, or this is the expected things.
Yes.
But these are the complications which might happen. So all those things, if the patient is understanding, and I have seen this, that once everything is explained, and if the patient is coming back with a second procedure, the patient is happy. Okay, doctor, I understand.
Yes.
They do it.
Yes.
The things are changing now.
Yes.
But we need to, have more focus on it.
Right. Patients should also very actively demand information from the doctor.
Yes.
There was one incident when I visited a doctor, and not me, my sister visited a doctor, and he told to take some medicines, and she asked what is this medicine for? And he said, you don't need to know everything.
This has happened to me as well. See, that is an extreme. Not every patient is like that. Some patients will have a lot of questions.
Yes.
Immediately, as soon as 2 or 3 questions are asked, I know that the patient has taken the knowledge from Google.
Yes, he has done his research.
He's done his research. There is a way to tackle with them as well, sweetly. You cannot just shut the patient like that and send. You can always say that, see, it's been 18 years since I'm practicing orthopedics. And I've seen almost 10,000 patients. I'm not saying that I have operated on 10,000, but I've seen 10,000 plus patients.
Yes.
So that has given me certain experience, which a Google page will not give immediately. So because that's just a search algorithm which is giving you all sorts of possible outcomes. I mean, it would say that for a simple lipoma surgery, the risk could be death.
Yes, seen that one.
So that's how it is, The other thing is also true. Nowadays, I have seen certain doctors scaring the patient of the rarest complications and then asking the patient to do the surgery when it is not required. Like take for the example, the same lipoma, a small cyst onto the skin, saying, I think it could turn cancerous. Immediately, okay, so doctor, please operate.
Yes.
It's not required. Yes. Cancer is like 0.00001% probability. And cancer is something which no one is immune to.
Yes.
The only person who will not have a cancer is a person who's dead. A balancing act has to be maintained, both from the patients as well as from the doctor's side. Because authorities, you can never question the system. I personally believe that participants of healthcare should not be allowed to have a their company should never be listed on stock exchanges. But you see the pharma companies and you see the major hospitals, they get listed.
Right.
Once they are listed, it's just a business churning money.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that's just my opinion. I don't know how the SEBI chief would take it.
Your group probably invests in some of them.
So, yeah.
In the operation theatre, has this ever happened that, a particular situation came and you did not go according to the rule book? You tweaked the procedure or improvised it. You did not go according to the rule book. Maybe because the patient needed it, or maybe because you felt that it was right.
Many times it has happened that way. And one example which I remember is this patient, he had an implant on his arm bone for about 5 years. He wanted to get that out. So it's always despite doing all the due diligence, getting what kind of reports. Patient didn't have many reports. So whatever reports were available, with that I went ahead and posted the patient for surgery. Normally, it is an accepted norm all over the world that we use hexagonal head screws for fixation of the bone fractures. The plate and screws.
Yes,
the screws, they have hexagonal heads.
Right, right.
Okay, but this person had some screw which I had never seen in my life. Now, I don't have a screwdriver to remove that. I already cut open his arm. And I have told that, okay, I'll get the plate out. Despite, explaining that there is a possibility that I may not be able to take the plate out. I was like thinking maybe I should just close it off. But then I thought maybe I should improvise. Let me see whether I can try to remove off. Because it had some star shape on its head, which I had never seen and never read about it. I don't know the surgeon who had put it, where did he get it from. But then I just saw the scissors which we used to cut the tissues. I saw that the scissor was fitting very well in the screw. So I used the scissor as a screwdriver because I didn't have any other screwdriver available.
Right.
So I did that. So that was a kind of an improvisation which is not taught in the book. Especially these implant removal surgeries are very tricky ones. Before this, I remember during my post-graduation itself, while removing the screw, there was a nail inside the bone.
Okay.
And there were 2 screws blocking the nail from shifting. That is a normal way how we fix the long bone fracture. So while removing, the hexagonal head became round. Now, as soon as it becomes round, there is no way the screwdriver can take a grip into that. So the only other way was to, sir, my immediate superior said, well, let's abandon the procedure. I said, sir, let us use a neurosurgery burr. They use this burr to open up the skulls.
Okay.
They're very sharp and very sharp. They rotate at a very high pace. So he said, what will you do with that? I said, sir, we'll just flatten the screw edges so that we get 2 flat edges and then we use a plier and remove it out. He said, give it a try. So we did that and then within the next 10 minutes it was out. So the owner of my institute, he kept that screw as a souvenir. Because no one had thought about that kind of outcome. He could have been removed that way. So he kept it as a souvenir.
That should be taught, I think, in the textbooks.
I think this will all come with your acumen, I would say, and application of mind at that time, having the presence of mind and then. Right. That just comes. Maybe the God has just given you that idea at that time. Nobody thinks that I will do it that time.
Yes. It's just, in that moment. You're inspired by something. And I hope the patient is anesthetized at that time because no one would want to witness that.
Yeah, and I always compare, and I think it has been an established comparison also, that a surgeon's job and a pilot's job is pretty much alike. As soon as the cockpit door closes, you have put all your faith into that pilot. So, if the patient does the same thing to the doctor, the outcome is 99% of the times guaranteed to be a good one.
Yes.
If the patient has any kind of a doubt or anything, then things start to get bad. It so happens that I wouldn't say that a person shouldn't have ego. Ego should not be too much. There's a fine difference between having a self-esteem and having an ego. But that should not mean that people should start dictating to you. After a certain experience, this happened with me. Like one of the patient, he had his son with a fractured wrist. So after that, I told him such and such thing will be required, and we will have to admit him, and then we do the treatment. That guy was kind of a rich guy, so he tried to show off his baggage. It's like, doctor, I don't care how much money it costs, but you get another doctor and operate. He could have probably asked that in a better tone, but the way he asked, it ticked me off. I said, sir, if you have faith in me, if you have faith in what I have told you, please continue the treatment here. Please do not dictate to me how the treatment has to be done. Because neither are you a doctor, nor anyone else is here who's superior to me that I should call immediately.
Yes.
I cannot call anyone just like that. So he is like, as I offered him, if you are having faith, I'm happy to treat him. Otherwise, you are free to take him to any hospital you want. So sometimes I have to be blunt. Not by habit, but sometimes I have to be blunt. I mean, I have to respect my esteem.
Yeah, that is also important. Sometimes you do have to stand up for yourself because someone else is just not respecting you and your experience. So, yeah.
No, I would never, as a person, I would never, gloat about myself or say that I am the greatest. No, I am still a student. I am a student for life. So I'm learning from everybody.
Right.
As I mentioned, there are people who teach you how to do things. There are people who will teach you how not to do things.
Right. So as we near to the end of this session, you have to quote something from your book that would inspire me to read it. Because I am not a fan of random observations to read. So convince me to read that book. Okay. One book.
So I would want to quote about, if you have the power, you have the responsibility. Mm-hmm. But without integrity, they mean nothing.
Right. So along with power, you do also have to have
See, if integrity. You have the power, definitely that means it gives you an additional responsibility to utilize that power in the benefit of others. But if you lack integrity, none of that matters. Because then you're just abusing your power.
Yes. And
you're not following your responsibilities. Most famous example here, what I would like to talk about is, in the book which I've talked about, is about Rahul Dravid, who showed immense integrity when he was offered an honorary doctorate by one of the leading universities. But he refused to accept a doctorate, saying that people who become doctors, they put in so many years of research, so many years of education and everything to get that doctor in front of their name. Me, just by playing cricket and scoring a few runs, if someone is just offering me a doctorate, I will not be able to accept that. I'm not going to do any justice to that offering. So, such kind of things. And personally also, I guess that integrity supports my outlook that when I started earning, instead of splurging on myself, first I chose to clear off the debts which I have taken from my friends or my family. Before I could start saving for myself and splurging for myself.
Right.
Hopefully, that's how I want to carry on my life as well.
So with great power comes great responsibility also.
Yeah, that's a line from Spider-Man movie, but I added integrity at the end.
Your version. Maybe you searched quotes from the internet and then you tweaked it.
I wish, but yeah, it's always the other way around. I write the quotes, search for it on the internet. I don't want to be known as a plagiarist. Person who does plagiarism.
Right. And I'm sure neither does BookLeaf Publishing one time.
Yeah, they would not have accepted my manuscript.
Right. So I'm convinced to read your book.
I'm glad.
In the end, we have a rapid fire session for you. You'll be shooted with some questions and you'll have to respond in under 1 minute.
Oh.
So here comes the question. What's the last book you read? And it should be other than your own book.
The Tao of Physics by Frijitov Capra, Dr. Frijitov Capra. I'm currently reading The Dancing Woolly Masters by Gary Zukav. The last book which I read was The Tao of Physics. He compares the physics, the quantum physics and everything with the Eastern philosophy.
Okay.
And this book came to me as a suggestion when I was discussing the idea of my book, which I'm currently writing, which I mentioned about the comparative realms of the quantum world, the universe, as well as the human subconscious.
Right.
So this came as a suggestion from one of my friends whom I was discussing this idea with. So, of course, Dr. Frijitov Capra has written something which compares a philosophy with this, but my upcoming book is entirely as a comparison of the human subconscious itself with the universe and the subatomic world.
Right. One myth about surgeons you'd like to debunk?
That we are God.
You do make mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, surgeons always tend to believe that we are God. And there is actually a very good joke which goes along with, especially about orthopedic surgeons. Says that the difference between orthopedic surgeon and the God is that God knows that he is not an orthopedic surgeon. This can be interpreted in two ways. That orthopedic surgeon knows that he is God, or orthopedic surgeon knows that he is orthopedic surgeon. Come on, I mean, you cannot be everything. You can just follow your principles and whatever you are learning to the best application for the benefit of the patient. That's it.
Right. If you could operate on society's collective conscience, what would you repair first?
This needs a lot more than 1 minute to think.
Okay, take 2 minutes.
Putting others before you. Like, it's always your own selfishness which always takes precedence over other things.
Right.
But many times, if you just take a step back and think about how it will affect others, whether it will affect them in a better way or in a bad way, if it's affecting them in a worse way, I would probably refrain from doing that kind of a thing, even if that's going to benefit me. Because in the short term, it might give you a lot of accolades or pleasure or even profits, so to speak. But in the long term, it's definitely going to hurt you because karma comes to bite you back.
Right. And like you also said earlier, you should be able to see yourself in the mirror and have a peaceful sleep.
Peaceful sleep in the night. That's true.
Right. One free health advice you would like to offer, and it cannot be generic.
It cannot be generic. One free health advice. Treat the food itself as medicine.
That's generic.
Yeah. Okay.
Something that I would have to pay for.
Free health advice. Stop drinking, stop smoking. I am that brand of, I belong to that bunch of orthopedic surgeons who do not drink. So whenever I go to conferences, they said, what kind of orthopedic surgeon are you?
Doctors drink.
Oh. Okay. So I didn't know that you didn't know that doctors drink.
I don't know what kind of a word
I just opened up Pandora's box.
Maybe we should put a disclaimer before this video. Harsh truths ahead.
As I mentioned, every doctor is, before being a doctor, a human being. So they are also into the worldly pleasures and everything. So they cannot do it on an everyday basis. Definitely not, because they have patients to cater to and they have hospital to run and everything. So they cannot, just like any other person enjoying a weekend, they can just do like that. So they do unwind when they are going into the conferences and everything.
Right.
So they do unwind at that time. But sometimes it becomes too much.
Unwind. Quite a euphemism to use.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that with my mother. Just unwinding.
Yeah, but if you want to choose between the vices, drinking is much safer than as compared to smoking. Smoking is the worst. So once in a while, little bit of drinks here and there, it's okay. Although I don't drink it, I would not recommend. But still, if anybody wants to, like few drinks, like a peg or two, it's fine. Once in a week or once in a month. But smoking is definitely a no.
I'm a Delhiite. I cannot escape that.
I don't want this interview to become a political one.
It has. Okay, so the last question is going to be the most interesting one. A very difficult one for you to answer, but really a no-brainer for me. Chole bhature or salad?
Chole bhature.
Hard truths, as I said. So
I did try to sustain myself on salad for long, but as I mentioned, it is not a thing which will give you that kind of a satisfaction which a chole bhature can give you. So chole bhature definitely once a month.
True. Mummy, please take note. So that's it, Dr. Shirish. It was lovely talking to you, quite insightful, and all the very best for your book.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It has been a pleasure being here and interacting with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.